Hello, 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 everybody. I am Jean Henderson Pierre, of course, the TV Ramble, but now I am doing a beer review of Icehouse Edge. This is my second one. Last time I did one with Ronald J. Terrio. We did Icehouse, but today we're doing Icehouse Edge. 8% ABV. Of course, the company is a specialty lager. To some, it's a malt liquor. But I'm not going to do a big, extensive review of it right now. I'm having it. I'm eating some rice and beans and some pork chops with this meal. We'll put the camera on that. A little rice. Got my beer right there. So, anyway, Icehouse is first started by Plank Road Brewery. The Icehouse Edge is, of course, with their, Icehouse, which has been around for some time back in the, started the ice beer craze back in 1994. Now Icehouse Edge, which came on the scene, I believe, I might be wrong on the date, forgive me, I believe was 2004, I believe, to compete with Steel Reserve. So, I've had this before, and I figured it'd be a good day to sample this with my meal and give it a shot. So here we are. Nice little haze color here. See, my Alabama cup that I have. Smell the corn. I had this in my cooler for a couple of days, and it's been very iced out, real cold. And I just took it out of my car, and it's still cold. You can smell some of the ingredients that is in some of these malt liquors. You know, a lot of corn, a lot of the high yeast. You know, just the potency of your everyday typical malt liquor. So let's give it a taste. About, pretty decent. Ice cold, again, is the main thing to have this Icehouse Edge with. Extremely. Can I have it at any room temperature? Can I have it at 40 degrees? I mean, can I have it, at 50 degrees? I mean, this has to be really ice cold, 30, 20 degrees at least. It's the best to have this. Can I have this at room temperature, or else you will be effed up. So. Now, I was watching a video earlier today, Ronald J. Terrio and his daughter. They were reviewing a beer. Forgive me for mispronouncing it. Ors 19, I believe it was, and I think it was a Hellas Doppelbock. And I had asked him, would you consider this, an Icehouse Edge in that same category as a Hellas Doppelbock? And he kind of said yes. I thought it would be more of a high gravity lager, but it kind of has the same kick, same percentage ABV, like, say the Andy Gator by Abita, which I like a lot. Again, love the color of this, very good flavor. I've had this before. I've always, of the high gravity ones, Old English 800 high gravity, which is good. You got the Hurricane high gravity 8%, which is decent, a little too strong, and then of course Steel Reserve. But this Icehouse Edge is not bad. And I've with the guys we do the beer reviews with, I've let them know of my top malt liquors. I mentioned OE high gravity, which is good, Hurricane, Icehouse Edge. I've had the Steel 211 Triple Export, which is also pretty strong too. On my way and my trip, I bought a couple other beers that hopefully I will be sampling with some of the guys, and I'll show you what they are. Stand by. See, I got a lot of them I bought from my trip recently. I went home to visit my folks up in New Jersey. So I have, of course, Country Club, which is one of the beers that hopefully I'll get with one of the guys we'll try to review. Of course, another High Gravity by St. Ives, High Gravity, 8.2%. Hopefully I'll get to sample, review that with the guys. Jay mentions this a lot. I don't get it here in Alabama, and Mississippi is kind of, hit and miss, but definitely where he is, near, near the, I believe Metairie. I know he lives in New Orleans, but outside of the area, I know this is sold a lot, as well as this one, of course, the big boy, Schlitz original malt liquor. So hopefully we'll get to review these with the guys soon. But anyway, getting back to Icehouse Edge, pretty decent. I really like it a lot. Again, this is not something you want to take to a party. Something that you want to have at home. This is a beer to have only in the house. And that's it. You're not, and hopefully you'll get some rest, or maybe drink a lot of water before you hit the streets, or do anything else. This is a type of beer to have, and you have to be careful if you're going to be driving, doing other things. It's very, very strong. Of course, the image, when people talk about this, then Jay has mentioned this a lot on his channel, about the image of malt liquors, over the last 20, 25, 30 years. Of course, it has been very negative. Of course, it was viewed back in the day. Let's go back to back in the day, back in the 50s. It was viewed as sort of, the crazy laws, alcohol laws that were here in this country, that you couldn't have beer at a certain percentage. So they had to have a name for it, malt beverage, or maybe, high gravity beer, whatever. And of course, it was catered to a different class, upscale white folks, kind of sort of a stronger version of champagne. You see some of the photos, you look on YouTube, look on Google, and you look at images, or Bing, whatever your search engine is, and you type in malt liquor ads, and you'll see from back in the 50s, you see the white guy at the country club, or the guy sitting at home by the fire, with his wife or family or whatever, drinking one of these malt liquors like this one, Country Club, which is one of the first original ones that came onto the scene. Then the guys decided, let's just change the view of this beer and try to reach out to another demographic. And of course, you saw, reaching out to African Americans. You saw reaching out to Hispanics, and by then, other companies began putting out more of these malt beverages, and of course, you had actors, singers doing such, and for whatever the reason, the view, by the time you get to the mid '80s, and when there were some of the rappers, and were promoting this, like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, promoting St. Ives or whatever, Old English 800, whatever. It was viewed as negative. It was putting a negative image on Black America, young Black youth, films like Boys in the Hood, South Central, Don't Be a Menace to Society, films like that. They saw that, and it was like, this is a negative image of Black men and this and that. But if you look at the demographics, the people who were drinking this were, still, white folks and minorities, and also Native Americans and even Hispanics. And, Hispanics were not being targeted, neither were whites were targeted for drinking these styles of beer, but unfortunately they were. And for, whatever the reason now, it seems that it's now last couple of years, if you want to compare, to me, I've always said this, that the malt liquors, like the country clubs, really kind of was the foundation. These guys here, as I mentioned, these beers I showed were sort of like the founding fathers, if you will, of the craft beer movement, because No dissing Budweiser or Miller or Coors, but people wanted a little more beer with it, a little more kick, a little more flavor, a little more boldness to it. And the malt liquors were the ones who originally did that. And then, of course, the craft beer industry, which started, really back in the late '60s, early '70s, and first Mantog, if I pronounce his name correctly, with Anchor Steam and his beers. You have a few others that really wanted beer that had a little more flavor. So really, the malt liquors were the ones that really started it all. Started that movement. And now, and sometimes from time to time, I see a lot of the craft, guys who drink craft beer, sometimes picking up some of these beers and drinking some of them because people want a little more boldness to the flavor. 4%, 5% is okay, but sometimes you want something a little more umph to it that's going to make you feel good. So, I was one of those guys that kind of didn't really care for malt liquors. I had just kind of said, by the early 2000s or so, I've had some of these beers that I've mentioned earlier. Even the ones I've shown, even the ones I mentioned, like Old English, I've had them when I was in high school and my early years in college. And then by the time about the late '90s, early 2000s, started drinking, more, the BMC beers, the Buds and the Millers and the Coors. And, I kind of dismissed those beers. But within the last couple of years, I've started to take a greater appreciation of these beers now and seeing these beers for what they are. They are, high gravity beers, strong lagers, that, I wouldn't, some, not all, but some I would match with some of the craft beers. But some of them I probably would not. But I think they're still good enough to could stand toe to toe with some of them. But anyway, getting back to Icehouse Edge, the beer that we are reviewing. So yeah, I've kind of bent the can here, as you can see. So anyway, it's a good beer. Pair this with pizza. Pair this with some hot wings. Got to be ice cold. I can pair. I'm having some rice and some pork chops right now. It's like bloody hot out here today here in Mobile. That's the kind of beer you can pair with. You got to pair it with like finger food, say hot stuff, wings, pizza, nachos. Using a lot of jalapenos. That's what this beer is for. So. So one more I can say. I think Icehouse Edge is a pretty decent beer. I like it, and go out and if you can get it. And of course, if some places they don't have it in 12-ounce cans. The only thing you'll see it is in 16-ounce cans and 25-ounce cans, which is what I have here. Icehouse, the original Icehouse, the 5.5 version, is in 12-pack cans and bottles. 25-ounce cans, 18-ounce bottles, if you can get that. These are pretty decent. It's a pretty decent beer to have, if you, like I said, you're hanging out inside and you're not going anywhere, then perfect. If you're going to be sipping this and it's like to me doing a lot of movement, I would recommend don't do that. I would say just sit for a little bit, maybe walk, drink a lot of water, and savor the flavor. But don't expect me doing a lot of stuff that is going to be making you move a lot, and you will feel the effects of it pretty quickly. But anyway, I gave this beer a B minus. Take that back. I give this beer a B plus. Icehouse Edge, so it's pretty decent. So tell me what you think. Leave a comment on my page, and thank you for watching. And we'll see you again next time.